Hey guys, welcome to our channel codersarcade. In today's video, we are going to talk about Xpaths. What is Xpath? Why do we use Xpath? What are the different types of Xpath and where we can use Xpaths? All of that will be covered in this video. So, I'm Ashank David and let's get right into this. So, let's start by what is Xpath? Xpath is a programming language which is used for querying the XML nodes, or you can say that it is designed for finding the controls or elements in the HTML document. Xpath is basically designed for XML documents, but it can also be used for other document object models. Now, what do you understand by document object model? Document Object Model or DOM is a programming API for HTML and XML documents. It defines the logical structure of document and a way document is accessed and manipulated. So this is your document object model. Now, if I come back to XPath, then XPath is defined by the World Wide Web Consortium or W3C. W3C is an international organization which maintains the web standards. So this was just the introduction to XPaths. Now we'll see what are the different types of XPaths. So there are two types of XPaths. The first one is the absolute XPath and the second one is the relative XPath. If we talk about absolute XPath, it is the XPath which starts from the root element and it starts with a single slash. Here single slash means current node. Now we generally don't use this absolute XPath if we want to locate some element on a web page because it has a disadvantage. That disadvantage is that it follows the structure. Now, what is this structure? So let me show you. If I go to this website, this is a website called W3 Schools. So here, let's say if I want to find this element in this web page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to inspect this website. And here you can see that because I directly inspected this button right there, it started highlighting the code for it. You can see this is the structure of the whole HTML document. All right. So absolute XPath follows the structure. That is its disadvantage, right? So let's understand how it is a disadvantage. So you can see this structure, right? So if I want to get to this reference code is this, which is highlighted here. To get to this code, we have to come through the whole HTML document. So it will start from HTML. Then we have to go to this body. And then inside body, we have to access the third div tag. Inside this third div tag, we have this third A tag. This reference is an A tag, and this A tag is the third A tag inside this div. And this div is the third div inside this body, and this body is inside this HTML. So it follows the whole structure of an HTML document. So for example, if I create an absolute XPath and I show you here, absolute XPath, as I told you, starts with single forward slash, right? So I'll write single forward slash, and here I have to specify, I have to start from the beginning. So here, first one is the HTML tag, right? So I'll say HTML, then I'll put one more forward slash, and then I'm going to tell next which tag comes. So we are going to select body tag, right? So I'm going to write body, and then I'm going to put one more forward slash, and inside this forward slash I'm going to specify in which div this A tag is present. So it's in the third div, so I'll write div div, and I'll specify that in the square brackets that it's a third div. Then I'm going to put one more forward slash, and then it's a third A tag, right? So I'll write A, and then I'll say 3. So this started highlighting the code for this references which I want to find. So this is how an absolute XPath looks like, and this is how it is written. So you have to follow the structure of the whole HTML document. Now, why it is a disadvantage? Because suppose tomorrow the developers of this website decided to add one more drop down. Let's say after tutorials, they wanted to add an image drop down as well. So then it will look like tutorials, then images, then references, then exercises, then videos, right? So at that time, this references will move at the third position instead of second position after tutorials, right? So the structure will also change. If the structure changes, this XPath will fail. So right now, this is inside third. This is a third A tag inside this div, right? If they added this image drop down here, this A tag will be moved to the next one, and instead of there will be another A tag for images. So this A tag will be 4 now. Understood? So this will become a disadvantage because if the structure changes, this XPath will always fail because we have created XPath for the third A tag. But when the website gets updated, this A tag will change and this XPath will start failing. So that's the reason we don't use absolute XPath. Absolute XPath, they follow the whole structure of the HTML documents, and in future, if the structure changes, that absolute XPath is going to fail. That is the reason we don't use absolute XPath. And this is how you can create your own absolute XPaths. Understood this? Then, if we talk about relative XPath, relative XPath doesn't follow the structure approach. This brings us to relative XPaths. So, what is the difference between relative and absolute XPath? In absolute XPath, the XPath is started from the root element as we just saw now. But in relative XPath, the XPath will not start from the root element. It starts from any point on the document based on the search criteria. Now, for example, if I wanted to get the relative XPath of this A tag, I will not start from HTML again. I'll directly say A tag and then I'll specify the attributes inside it. Let me show you how. So here, a relative XPath will always start with double forward slash in this case. Absolute XPath was starting with single forward slash. Here, relative XPath will start from double forward slash. And here, I am going to directly give the tag name, which is A tag. I wanted to find the third A tag, right? So I'll say A, and then I am going to open the square brackets. And then here, I am going to navigate first to that code. Here it's the code and A tag, and we can see that I can use any of these attributes which are there. So there is this ID. So I can use this ID. So I'll copy it and I'll say at the rate ID equals to, here I'm going to paste the value of the ID and then I'll close it. So don't worry about it. I'll tell you how this is written and what is this ID and what is this nav button reference and all that. I'll tell you. Just see right now. This is how an relative XPath looks like. We don't have to start with the root element. We can directly jump onto the tag, which is A tag here, and we can directly tag one of the attribute inside that A tag. And here we can just give the value of that attribute. This way it will directly jump onto this. You can see it says 1 of 1. That means it's the unique XPath that we have created. Make sure that your XPath is unique. If it says 1 of 1, then it is unique. If it says 1 of 2, or if it says 1 of 50 or 1 of 100, then it's not the unique one. Always make sure to locate any element on a website. You have to make a unique XPath. So later on, we'll discuss more on this. You will get to know how we can create unique XPaths. Don't worry for now. This is your relative XPath. Now, this XPath won't fail because this XPath is using an attribute. Which attribute? It is using an ID attribute, which was here in this code. You can see ID equals to nav btn underscore references, which is the ID in this case. So tomorrow, even if they decided, is suppose the developer of this website decided to add a new element in between, my XPath won't fail. Why? Because we are using ID. We are not using the structure. Until and unless the ID attribute is changed, it is not going to fail. And it is very difficult to change ID attribute when the whole website is already made. Because if you make changes in ID attribute, the whole website will get changed. That we don't want. So usually attribute doesn't get updated or attributes doesn't get changed usually in future. only the structure of the HTML document changes. So this way we can make sure that we always write a relative XPath. We don't use our absolute XPath. We write relative XPath only so that our XPath doesn't fail. Because this XPath is not in a structured order, it is directly targeting the element based on the element attribute value. So this is the element attribute ID, and this is the value of that ID attribute. Got it? So this is the reason it is always recommended to use the relative XPath, right? So now let us see what is the syntax of relative XPath and how we can create our own XPaths. So here, the syntax of the relative XPath. So I'm going to write here syntax of relative XPath. So the syntax for relative XPath is, first we are going to start with double forward slash, and then we are going to write here the tag name. Okay. Then after tag name, I am going to open up the square brackets, and here using @ symbol, I am going to tag an attribute. For example, ID is an attribute, right? So here after ID, I'll give an equals to sign, and inside my single quotes, or you can use double quotes, both, here you can give the value of this attribute called ID. This is the relative XPath that we created. And this is the syntax for it. Now let us see it in real, how we can create another relative XPath. Now let's say I want to click onto this learn to code. So I'll inspect this learn to code. All right. So here, if I want to create a relative XPath of this learn to code, I will first start by writing double forward slash, and then I'm going to give the tag name, right? This tag name. So what is the tag name here? H1 is the tag name. So I'll write H1, and you can see it's already started highlighting this. But if you see on the right hand side, it says 1 of 10. That means there are total 10 H1 tags in this website. Still, it is not unique. Our XPath is not completed and it is not unique. So I cannot use just H1 here. It will get confused. So what we can do is I can give square brackets, and I will check what attribute is present inside this H1 tag. So it says learn to code H1 is the value of this class. Class is an attribute of this tag here. So I'm going to say @ and I'll say class equals to, and inside single quotes, I am going to copy this one. I'll copy it, and here inside my single quotes, I am going to paste it, close my single quotes and close square brackets. So now you can see we have successfully completed creating our own relative XPath for this learn to code, which is H1 tag. And on the right hand side, you can see it says 1 of 1. That means it is unique. We are directly targeting this H1 tag, and I'm using an attribute inside this H1 tag to directly target this element. And this is how I did it. This is called relative XPath. And this will never fail in future because structure may change, but this class won't change, because if they change this class, they have to change the whole code of the website again, because in CSS is called as cascading style sheet, and using this class in CSS, they are formatting this whole learn to code. So that's the reason they won't change this class again and again. So attributes won't be changed. So for example, class and this class, if you have ID, then it's good, you can use ID. If you have name, you can use it. See, we have ID in this div tag. This won't change anytime. This class won't change. All right, these are all the attributes of every command that you can see, every code that you can see for every element. These are all different elements. All these divs are different elements, and every element has their own attributes. So we can tag any of the attributes using an @ tag, and then I can give the value of that attribute in order to tag that whole or target that whole element in a website. So this is how we are going to write in relative XPath. Now let's see another example, guys. Let's say, for example, we have a code something like this. We have input, we have say type equals to, let's say we have type as text, then we have class equals to, we have input text, and then we have, let's say, name. I'll write the name here, down here. I'll write the name here, name equals to, we have, let's say, first name. So we have this whole one code starting from here. Input is the tag name here, and we have three attributes of this input class. So we are input tag. So we have type, class, and name. So these are the three attributes that we can see in this input tag. This input tag is using these three attributes. Now, if I want to create a relative XPath for this, then it will something look like this. I'll start with double forward slash. I'm going to first say the tag name, which is input in this case, and then I'll open up the square brackets, and I can use any of these attributes. Either I can use type, or I can use class, or I can use name. So in this case, I've already used class once, so I'll say type. So I can say at the rate, I can say type is the attribute name. I've used at the rate to tag it, and then I'm inside my quotes, I can give the value of it, so which is text. Okay, so this is the relative XPath of this whole above code given. Understood, guys? So this is how you can create your own relative XPath, and this won't fail anytime because your structure may change, but your type will not change. This attribute won't change easily in the website. Understood, guys? So this is how you can create relative XPath. If you want to see more examples, I can see you one more example. Let's open up Google this time. I'll say google.com. I've opened up Google search, right? So here, let's say I want to write something in this. So I'll right click and I'll inspect it to get this. So you can see that it's in an input tag here, and I'm going to create a relative XPath for it. Okay. So I'll say Control F in order to open this find window. And in this, I'll going to start with double forward slash here. And what's the name of this tag? It says input. So I'm going to say input. And then I am going to see, if I say input, it says 1 of 9. That means there are 9 more input tags in this whole website, right? So after this, I want to make it unique. So I'm going to write more on this. I'll open up the square brackets, and in this square brackets, I can use any of the attribute which is available in this. So let's say class, JS action, max length. There are so many different attributes of this code. I'm going to use, let's say I am going to use the name in this case. So I'm going to say at the rate, I'm going to say name equals to, and in my single quotes, I can write the value. So value is Q here. So I'm going to write simply Q, and then I'm going to close it. So here you can see it says 1 of 1. That means it's unique. So now it is recognizing only this input tag. But for example, let's say, suppose there are two tags. It says 1 of 2. For example, it says 1 of 2. Then what you can do is you can say and you can directly say at the rate, and you can use any of the other attributes as well. So you can say we have class as well, right? So I can say at the rate class equals to, I'm going to copy the value of this class and single quotes, I've pasted and I'll close it. You can see this way also you can do. So you can use two attributes at a time using this AND operator. It's a logical operator. So this and this together, it will make unique one. If it says 1 of 2 or 1 of 3 or 1 of 10, you can use more than one attribute in your same XPath in order to create a desired relative XPath. So this is the basics of XPath, guys. I hope you have understood this well. There are two types of XPath: absolute XPath and relative XPath. This is how a relative XPath looks like. We have already seen with the example here, guys, and I hope you have understood this well. If you have any doubts in this video, post them in the comment section and I am going to clear your doubts. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel Coders Arcade, and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you won't miss any future updates, right? So this is all about relative XPath, guys. In the next coming video, we are going to discuss about functions in XPath and how we can use them. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you have understood well. Thanks for watching, and that's it for this video, guys. This is Ashank David signing off. See you guys in the next one.